Welcome, 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 all of you. I am your host, Joan of Angels, with the new Earth Symposium. I'm here with my amazing guests. We have Debbie Solaris, Susanna Kennedy, Laura Eisenhower, and I want to just welcome you all to our new Earth Symposium, our panel, where we're going to be embarking on a journey of exploring this whole new paradigm shift as we leave the old world, in a sense, and we start working towards this new Earth. So we're going to talk a little bit about our collective visions of what a harmonious new optimum health, optimum well-being society can turn into with our help. So I'm very excited to have all of you here. And I thought that we would start by each of you going around and sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do, and how you see this new Earth arising and what you see happening with it. Like, what does that mean to you? So I think we'll start here with Debbie, and then we'll go to Susanna, then Laura, and then me. Okay?
Okay, thank you for having me on. This is exciting. I get to be with such luminaries like Susanna and Laura, so just happy to be in the same space with all of you, including Joan, because Joan is amazing. So just a little brief description about me. I'm Debbie Solaris. I am a ET contactee. I'm a galactic historian and a galactic Akashic reader guide, and also a starseed intuitive. My story started in 2012 when I had 2 extraterrestrial contact experiences, and ever since then I've been connected to the Akashic records, not just the Earth records but also beyond Earth. And so my role is to help people remember who they are, where they came from originally, and how we're moving forward with this ascension process. Just to answer your second part of the question about how I see the ascension, the Arcturians gave me a vision quite a long time ago, when I had my first encounter with them, that brought tears to my eyes because it was so beautiful. And basically what they showed me was that Earth has the potential of having integrated communities where it's integrated with the environment, where there is no longer large cities or concrete jungles. We have, homes and spaces that are really well integrated into the environment. We're all using free energy devices. We're growing our own food, sharing, and teleportation was a big thing that they showed me, where all of us are going to have the ability to teleport. There won't be social media anymore because we'll all be able to telepathically also communicate with each other. But there's a lot of connection, a lot of community, and it's available for all of us, not just certain populations or certain people, but for all of us here on this planet. So the goal is to reach heaven on Earth, and I'm excited to be a part of that. So that's my vision, and thank you.
I love that vision of yours. Very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I think we said Susanna Kennedy is next. Hello,
Okay.
and welcome, and introduce yourself to everyone.
All right. Well, aloha. I am Susanna Kennedy. I'm living on the beautiful Hawaiian island of Kauai, which you have on your background there, I think. And I've been here for 23 years. My journey started when I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening in 1997, and connected and kind of embodied my higher self, and was able to connect in, and all of the what we call metaphysical gifts started to come in. And what I developed first from that, I've been calling what I have developed or created consciousness technology. So to help people to release the old third dimensional matrix that's inside of us, and the limiting beliefs, and then all of the the pain that those beliefs have created, the events, and so doing the emotional healing so that they can really embody their higher dimensional selves. And my vision that I was given was very much like Debbie's. It's really wonderful to hear like the same thing. But about 2005, I was contacted by somebody who had Gaia talking to her and asked to bring a group together that could help anchor the paradise reality onto Kauai, because the frequency here was the closest to that. And then it would spread. And so I participated in that. And at the time, I already had, a network of, I was doing teleclasses at the time. And so I brought that, after I did that, I brought it to my group and I said, well, okay, here it is on Kauai, but let's spread it. You guys spread it. And they asked me to continue. They said, I have always known that I was here to help bring paradise to Earth, but I didn't know how. And you've given me a way to do that. So can we meet regularly? So we did, and we connected with what was, we called the Paradise Council, who was made up of lots of different races. And they guided us through, co-creatively doing this energy work. And the first thing they said was, we need to remove the enslavement grid. But even before that, we need to create a safety net so that when that enslavement grid falls apart, there's a safe place to fall into. And so we worked on that. We met every week for 4 years, and we created what became like the bridge from third to fifth dimensional reality. And I was also shown all of the people, all of the star seeds that have come here specifically to bring their gifts from the higher dimension, so that when that control grid, is finally down, they bring their gifts that they've been working on all their lives and perfected, that are just like ready to go. So that's why I really feel excited about this time, and like to share that knowing with people so that they don't feel so much despair at what's going on right now. It's just kind of a necessary part of the process. And then I helped to bring them out of the matrix, but the matrix that's in them, so that they can experience the higher frequencies and the paradise that's already here all around us.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. I loved, by the way, that you brought up, what was it called? You called it the enslavement grid. And we can probably talk about freeing that a little bit, but that was very powerful too. So thank you. And that it was aligned already with Debbie's is really interesting. So
Yeah.
Laura, nice to see. It's so nice to see you on here.
Well, it's great to be here. Wonderful to meet everybody. And yeah, a little bit about me. I definitely came in with a mission, and I felt very aware of it at a very young age. And I've learned a lot along the way about what this is all about in a more defined way, a way that I can articulate a lot more than when I was growing up. There was a lot of downloads coming into me. I was very much out of my body, just one of those kind of kids, I guess you could say. And I think we're all, in childhood in another dimensional or multidimensional awareness, but it never really went away. And I never was able to really ground or just go along with school or life. I sort of was like living this double life, and there was this constant sort of dialogue and preparation going on. I was being visited a lot by my great-grandfather, former President Eisenhower, and some beings, and just a lot coming through constantly. And so I think children that are like that tend to be considered, ADD or some learning disability or something else is going on. But I was sort of prepared to know that that's going to come along with the territory and not to pay too much attention to it, not give my power away or go on any kind of medication, and do my best to sort of laugh it off, which I still am. And so I think that's really just been a huge part of the work that I do as an adult, is supporting, children, starseeds, individuals coming in that feel an inner calling that needs more attention, needs more of a voice. And I feel everybody has that, but some, it's like really immediate and it's really impacting them. It's making them, making it really hard to do anything else or to function normally. So having that be my background, I have a deep understanding of that. And so the tools that I have used along the way to help me are the same tools that I use to assist others, which is, astrology, tarot, and I was doing more energy readings and just working in that kind of way. Now it's a bit of a mixture of everything. So what I found out was that Eisenhower met with some star beings who tried to make contact with other people in leadership positions, world leaders, and they were largely ignored. And they realized that he was willing to give them the time of day and actually to help them out. And this isn't just one race that he had a connection with. He was advised by Val Thor, and Val Thor helped him to set up positive military units, including the White Hats and the Earth Alliance, in order to offset an unconditional surrender agreement that took place. And my mission has to do with that. And through the help of my own psychic development and remote viewers, and also being recruited to go off planet, it was leaked to me along the way, which a lot of dots later connected, that Eisenhower was briefed that a descendant would come in and help to bring about more truth to what he was warning us about in his final speech. And they intercepted that information and used looking glass technologies to target me before birth to begin to steer me in a different direction than I wanted to go. But they tried to present it as something beneficial and important. And I realized that connects with alternative 3 and a timeline trajectory that a lot of us have come in to not be on, and that there's a whole migration of souls that have come in, and particularly a new wave around 1952. And there's obviously like a lot of different waves of energy, and it doesn't even require a wave. There's just many souls that have come in for this, that we would all unite and come together and be able to expose truth and be a support to that crumbling enslavement grid. What did you call it?
Yeah, enslavement grid.
Enslavement grid, yeah. And so a lot of research into the reversal grid technologies that have been placed in sacred spots and that have impacted the ley lines, how that impacts our DNA. And all this sort of information has been very much sort of the mission to bring forward, and sort of understand what that agreement was about. And I guess, and I've heard from numerous sources, that I was connected with the beings on Venus and helped to Warren Eisenhower's administration was his spirit guide, and now he's mine. So I take that with a grain of salt. I'm like, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But that there was some agreement and they hijacked the information. And so, a lot of targeting and working with individuals that are targeted. And my focus on sort of this new earth and what we can do in order to make this a better place is to understand the dark technologies, what really happened after the Second World War, what sort of war we're in right now, which is a war on consciousness, indoctrination, mind control, social engineering. And I think it's so obvious that, so many of us are already very well aware of it, but how can we deprogram safely? How can we just have a nurturing space be held like you guys do, in, helping a soul to recover? And those that might not be ready for this, how can we be a resource and really rebuild the power structures on our own terms, and be understanding of the power that we hold, that we're the powers that be. They only have power based on what they've stolen, and that the creation and the engineering of artificial timelines requires our consent, our loosh, and our life force for it to even exist. So it would be like rehabilitation centers, healing centers, ways for families and community to come together, to help educate our children, guide them so that they can bring out their authentic truth and why they're here, and that we would come together and in total love and respect, and really consciously check ourselves and not falling into the divide and conquer that can get the best of us, and not fall into any form of division that wouldn't allow for this greater awakening, including those that have been compromised, that have been playing the dark role, that might have been trauma-based, mind controlled, or manipulated to the point where they're not even in possession of themselves. How can we, like open our minds and our hearts to a larger picture rehabilitation in that respect, so that those that really aren't on board with it can be singled out and acknowledged, and also understand that they're being cornered. And so I've written a book. I'm an author. My book is called Awakening the Truth Frequency. And so my attempt to expose everything I could possibly expose, so that we could see all the red flags as to why we need to break up, like a divorce, with the old paradigm, with the inverted system, that we can then realize who we truly are, what we're made of, and how much we deserve true love with creation, with ourselves, and with soul, family, and one another. And that is a transition that's very difficult for some, just like any breakup would be. But how can we, make this as comfortable and easy, and remind each other that this is a beautiful reunion, and this is all about liberation, and nothing, there's nothing to fear except for not knowing what we're dealing with. And so lots of protection is needing to be invoked, because of course, whatever you're breaking up with doesn't want to let you go very easily. That's why there's documentaries about stalkers, and just as we see on a micro level, dark entities and demonic beings require us, and they want to feed on us. So how can we create the sacred space and containers, and live in these beautiful locations to really anchor the paradise on earth? And it's just so amazing to be with people that are the top notch on this planet, that have been doing this, and that have come, with these gifts to work with. And I just look forward to doing more, and just being a part of this greater conversation, and building this unity consciousness together.
I love that, Laura. Honestly, you're kind of bringing everything together when you're talking about the reversing the grid technology and the timelines. And the most important thing I realize is how, like, all of us on here are here to help souls recover. As we go into the new earth, this recovery phase and understanding what actually happened to us is so important as we move to the new structure. So thank you so much. Victoria Reynolds just showed up, and we're just doing a little deep dive into who you are, a couple of minutes. And I know you wrote a book about the new earth. So
I did, yeah. I've actually written several. I wrote Rise Up a few years ago, back in 2019, to help people understand what's presently happening on the planet. And then I wrote the book Recreating Earth about 2 years ago. And that is all about the future of Earth. And I popped on here just long enough to hear Debbie talking about, I was like, oh, that's actually what's in my book. So, and that book was actually, I call that a collaborative effort between myself, Mama Gaia, Yeshua, and Metatron. So it's actually collaborative work with those other three beings. And it is about the future of Earth. And it's a counteraction to the New World Order. It's what my team was calling New Earth Consciousness. And so it uses the same systems that the reverse model is using to show people what can be for humanity, and actually what is written in the stars for Earth's future when enough of us choose it. And it is that I drive around, and my team says, oh, that building's going to be gone, and that building's going to be gone, and that building's going to be gone. And all those phallic symbols in the downtown areas, those are all going to be gone. And that's Mother Earth's attitude. She calls them phallic symbols, the big buildings that were built for the worship of greed. And so it's such an extraordinary time that we're in. We're actually birthing a new reality. We're birthing a new humanity, and it's so exciting that we volunteered to be a part of that, and we chose to come here and help roll out this new reality that has been foretold for thousands of years, and we get to create it. So we came here to be the way showers for that, because well, it's not our, for none of us, it's not our first go around. So we bring our mastery tools with us when we come here. For myself, the role I was shown about 15 years ago when I first had my what I call my midlife holy shift, my midlife reawakening, was that I'm here to take on religion. And that terrified me because I thought that was, I was the only person doing that. I had 2 little kids, and I was terrified that I was going to be taking on religion and that these big religions would come after my kids. But I've really come to discover that it means something very, very different than what I thought it meant 15 years ago. And it is simply to have humanity reframe the stories that we've told about the way our experience has rolled out, because we've only looked at his story. And I know I'm not the only person talking about her story. I've been talking about that for like 10 years, but it's what I call our story, showing the other side of the story. And this is the way that we take on religion, isn't by putting people's defenses up about what they believe, but offering them a new frame of reference to look at. So my role on the planet for that is ancient history in that way, taking people on these historical journeys, and also about this future that we're creating, because I do have a gift of being able to see the future. And I know you know that, Joan, because that's actually my specialty when I meet with clients, is that I have a conversation with their higher self and their future self, and I actually get shown what role they're going to be playing in the new earth. It's pretty cool to be able to share that with people. And the roles they're going to be playing are so very different from the jobs they're doing right now. It's work that lights them up and fills their heart, and it has nothing to do with the amount of money they make. And we get to choose where we live because we choose to, and not because we can afford to. And the earth is regreening herself. She's actually already started that. This is why there's been so much rain recently, because the earth is starting to regreen herself and restore the garden that she once was. And so that's part of what we're going to see. We are going to start to see all of those old systems start to collapse. And fortunately, behind the scenes, we've been building new models to replace them. And I think it was Susanna that was saying earlier about building a new infrastructure. And the image I was given a few years ago is the exercise, when you fall backward and you don't know where you're going to land, that we've created a mattress for humanity to land on. So there's a softer landing. And we've been actually building that infrastructure behind the scenes, even though it's not obvious and it's not apparent, that actually has been happening. And all of us have been participating in that, even with our own visions and our own desires and our own words and our own thoughts. We're actually creating it with every thought that we have. As we move that, we start to activate that reality that's already in place. One of the other projects I'm working on right now is a podcast and film project called Birthing Humanity. And the idea of this Birthing Humanity story is that in order to create new life, it begins in the preconception phase, which is where we presently are. It hasn't really even been, that newborn embryo hasn't really even been conceived yet. Right, we're in that phase where we're still planning and we're excited about the baby that we're going to have someday. And what an exciting place to be. And that's the best part of making the baby, is the planning part and the practicing part, right? So that's where we are right now. We're building this new humanity, and we get to work together with other like-minded and like-hearted souls to create this new reality and to integrate it. And that's really what I know this show, this symposium, is all about, is bringing together those of us who have this unified vision, so we can start creating it together, and also show the masses what's possible, because a lot of people are stuck still in the present and in the past. They keep rehashing everything that's wrong and everything that isn't working and everything that has been wrong. And I don't work that way. For me, when I look at the past, I extract all the juice from it. because the past exists for the sole purpose of learning from the past. That's the only reason it exists, is to learn from it. So what can we learn from it so that we don't, so with the only thing we carry forward are the lessons that we've learned from our past. And the same thing with the present. What lessons can we extract from the present moment so that only the lessons that we've learned get carried forward, and not the drama and the trauma that's playing out right now. So this event, and I know Joan and I have been working on this for a couple of months, the purpose of this event and events in the future is to get people really focused on solutions rather than problems. And if we can focus on the solutions, we give people something to envision, something to energize, and that will start to feed this new reality that we all have, and we can all see in our mind's eye, and we can all feel in our heart. And when the masses, it will eventually become the masses, but right now, as this spreads out into our awake and aware communities and out into the communities that are becoming more enlightened, and start to unify that vision, then we will start to create it, and it will start to see evidence of it.
Wow, very beautiful, very beautiful. I liked how you really went into how the purpose of this event is so people can start to see the future, and it creates the future, because we know that our thoughts create consciousness, and we could create either the good or the bad. And so if we stop focusing on the past, we can actually focus on what it is we want and see it manifest into reality. And that's another purpose of this panel, is that as we talk about how we conceive the new earth, and as we talk about that, we're actually creating a new implant. That's what came out of my mouth, a new implant, an Ascension timeline implant for this new earth, can be just as powerful as some of these, compliance genes, or I forget how you worded it, Susanna, but those implants that have been put in us to control our actions. So part of, as we emerge into this new earth, is removing past programming. So I'm Joan of Angels. I'm one of the founders of this event, along with Victoria Reynolds and our friend Jay Mata. But I'm listening to everyone, and I'm really awed. I am both angelic and celestial, and from a long time, I used to imagine, I couldn't understand why I was on this planet that seemed so evil, and it seemed so dark, it seemed so crazy. I read in the Bible before I was like 5 years old that these are the days that the sons of God mated with the daughters of man, and giants walked the earth. I put those two concepts together. But I walked around my childhood thinking, this is really a crazy planet. What do you mean, sons of God? And where are the giants? And we're living in a time where things that we know to be true are covered up. We're called crazy for knowing things that we all know. I know all of you have that happening in a certain way, because we can see the future, and we can see what's really important. So in my celestial / Arcturian self, I used to look at the teachers and the school systems and think, this is crazy. This is not true learning. How do we have schools that actually teach children to explore, experiment, meditate, to reach their consciousness? So how do we create advanced souls? And that's been part of the work that I do in helping people remember why they're here, and what it is they're about, and how they can start living their best life. So as we evolve into this new earth, and going through this very particular, I mean, this must be like a pregnancy that's going on for a long time, until we get through to the end of this year or next year, where we really see more signs that this new earth is taking over. But it's a hard process, and many people don't understand. But those of you who are watching this and who are listening, who think this way, we are the new leaders. We are the ones that are emerging to be the guides, and to take humanity by the hand and show them there's new healing technologies, as opposed to the ones we know that don't work, don't want to say them. There's new educational models. There's new models for our technology, and especially travel. I mean, honestly, my thoughts used to be how old-fashioned it was to have to get in a car or a plane and drive, as opposed to be teleported. Having been brought up on Star Trek, I did get glimpses of other ways to travel, and, having a machine that I could order my now organic juices and press that button and have it somehow fresh and organic to me. So it's a time for all of us to imagine, what would it really be like? What do you want to create in your life to see this unfold? We can't make it happen. It's an unfoldment of a new way of being. So that's part of what we're talking about today. So we can go back around Robin again and start with Debbie again. And like, how do you see us integrating the technology and our spiritual awareness and our consciousness as we go forth in our daily life?
That's a great question. I will attempt to get some downloads around it, but I think Susanna made a very good point about we're having to clear our own stuff first. A lot of us, even though, we are star seeds, we came from other realities, other dimensions. Some of us have had a few lives here on Earth, and we're carrying, trauma signatures from these lifetimes. So, a lot of the work I do is helping people to clear some of this trauma. I think it sounds like Susanna does something very similar with her process, but I think we just need to clear out all these old patterns, that we're carrying from other star systems or other lifetimes or past lives on Earth. That needs to happen first. At that point, our vibrations will automatically, just become more elevated. And I always say that every star seed affects the radius of a 50-mile radius. They affect the vibration of a 50-mile radius around them. So can you imagine if we have all these star seeds that are affecting the vibration of a 50-mile radius? I mean, we can really have an impact on this planet. And even those that are unawakened might become awakened, or they might become more aware of, what's really going on behind the surface, which is what Laura was talking about. She's talking about a lot of the stuff that was happening behind the surface. But so we can start manifesting a fifth dimensional reality in our own realities, which will then have an impact on our families, our inner circles, and then our communities, and then maybe even our countries. So I kind of see this as kind of more, not like a big event, but like a series of smaller events, where we are getting our DNA are upgrading, we are getting upgraded, periodically, but it's preparing us for the ultimate ascension into the fifth dimension, which I agree with Victoria and with Susanna is currently happening as we speak, so this is all currently happening. The Earth is going to ascend regardless of whether the individuals on planet Earth choose to ascend or not. Now, as a caveat, we are going to see some folks that will choose not to ascend at this current timeline, and we may see a lot of souls attrition out, which I do think is going to be, part of the process. And by attrition out, I mean they're going to choose to pass away, or or just not be here anymore. And so that's going to be part of the process as well. Now, one timeline, I hope Laura agrees with me with this, is the timeline I saw as far as us all having actual contact, where we all know about it, extraterrestrial contact. I saw towards the end of this decade. So between 2028 and 2032, that's the timeline I was given in the Akashic records. I hope it's actually sooner, but I'll take it, So we're going to have actual contact with our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters. And I do think it's going to be probably the Venusians or Alpha Centaurians that will be the ones that are probably located closest to us, and that we'll have contact with first. And at that point, there's no turning back. I mean, there's no, subterfuge or, trying to hide everything, So at that point, everybody's going to be aware that, we're not the only ones, in this universe, and that we're part of a greater galactic family. And from there, we're going to see a massive shift into ascension at that point. So that's how I see it. But thank you for allowing me to share my vision.
Are you kidding? That's amazing vision. I love that. Yes, it's very
Yeah.
hopeful. I don't know about your dates. Maybe someone else can actually confirm them, but it sounds like we're on track. I was a little surprised about the Venusians, and I'd love to see them being the first because they bring so much love for our planet. So
Yeah, we need that divine feminine energy too. So and they definitely represent that.
yeah, yes. And her story, as Victoria has been referring to it. So thank you. All right. So Susanna, what do you have to share with us? Like how do you feel we can integrate who we are, our frequency into this new, with the new technology coming out and spirituality and shaping this new earth?
Mm-hmm. Well, what I see and what I'm experiencing is as we, you know, as Debbie said, we have to go through that process individually of coming out of our own internal matrix, because we can't create something new from the old at all. So, but when you do that, and you do raise your frequency when you do that, because all of that old stuff vibrates at a slower, lower rate. So you rate, that is ascension. You are raising your frequency, you're expanding your consciousness, you're able to perceive at a whole nother level. And that doesn't stop with the fifth dimension. So when I had that Kundalini awakening, what I could see, and this is the way my mind visualizes it, is like I'm in the middle of a big onion, and there's these layers of me that are in higher dimensions, other dimensions. And so there's an aspect of me in all of them, or maybe even more, and having, creating and experiencing their creations, having other lifetime experiences. And as we raise our frequency, we then are an attraction, magnetically attracted and matching with our higher selves. So I'm totally okay with them coming like in a physical way, but they're here coming inside of us. It's us that we're waiting for. It's our own higher dimensional selves. So, right now I'm in contact with one that, my mind says is the eighth dimension. And I don't know that those numbers really mean anything, but just the linear part of me says the eighth dimensional self, bringing in her consciousness and being in her energy as much as possible, which then informs my information field and starts to change the body to vibrate higher. So I think we are embodying our star family. And when we do that, then we bring with it all of the technologies and all of the ways of living, and we can remember what it's like to live in the fifth dimension, and we can remember what it's like to live in the eighth dimension. And so what I'm doing with my clients is actually, when they get to that fifth dimensional consciousness, the thing that they want to do is to serve. How can we serve? And so I've created these groups where we get together every other week, and we come together and we look at what's going on in the world and how can we help. And so we always are raising our frequency to as high as we can, comfortably integrate into the body at that time. And we get that all revved up, and then we come together in sacred union. And that exponentially expands our radius. And so lately, it's like our radius has become so big, the earth is like this little thing in the middle of our hearts. And so we just, shine our love and our intention, and usually we're wanting, more truth and more integrity and more freedom, and and also sending that message that it's all going to be okay. Everything is as it is, as it should be. And just to counteract all the fear messages that are going on. So the name of my book is Sacred Union: Ascending to a 5D Paradise. So that is a real theme in the work I do, is the sacred union of just taking away all these veils of illusion, all these layers of illusion, and coming to that sacred union with all that you are. And you can bring that in and tap it in and radiate that out, and it just seems really, really powerful. And a lot of when we do that work together, we'll set our intention, we'll radiate the love, and then we'll just kind of stand back and see what happens. How does that unfold? And a lot of the people in my group are really clairvoyant, and they can describe what they see unfold, and then we see it happening in the world. It's really beautifully validating.
And also it can shift the future as we see what we're seeing. We can actually see that shift right into consciousness. So that's very beautiful. And again, all of us here are very involved in helping people come to terms with all of these changes and manifesting their best gifts, learning how to master them. So I think that's very powerful. I'm so glad you're here. So thank you. So Laura, how do you feel we're going to integrate all of this into our life, integrate the technology and the spiritual awareness that we're growing into this new earth?
I love what everybody had to share. Integrating all of this into New Earth is definitely just recognizing that we have dormant DNA that's not junk DNA. We have to be willing to unlearn what we thought was an education. And there's a lot of rewritten history. A lot of what took place after the Second World War has been the war on consciousness. And and it's not just the current indoctrination. It's how we view past events. We don't know about our galactic history. We don't know the roots of, what has taken place with the galactic wars and why we're functioning at such a limited DNA level. And so if we think it's just junk, that doesn't really provide a lot of inspiration for curiosity, unless you really deep down know that there's a lot more to the picture. And that's what we've all been aligned with and strong in discovering for ourselves. So I really feel that, there's advanced technologies that are in harmony with our awakening. And when I say advanced, I mean like frequency, color, sound. And it's advanced because it's not seeking to control us or just deal with a symptom without us getting to the core of where it originated. And I don't think you can ever really heal without understanding why something has appeared in your body. And through the study of astrology, just looking at the polarity of Pisces, Neptune, and Virgo, Mercury, Earth, so much about the integration of polarity is how we begin to dissolve the fences in our DNA and begin to move into these levels and layers. And it's really all mapped out. Our chart shows all that potential, all the growth periods, all the life experience we could possibly need to begin to move through the gatekeepers and move beyond these limitations and the mind control and social engineering, it's just very easy to loop in some of these control tactics that have been conditioned into us to the point where we mistake it for our inner voice that limits us, that says, oh, I can't do that, that's impossible, or why even bother going there, I was told that that's woo-woo or conspiracy theory, you know? And so it's a lot of that chatter that really keeps a person from their birthright and from what's already mapped out in their life path to begin to discover. So holding space for a person to have a genuine experience instead of being controlled, you know, and how do we recover from control that has turned abusive or tyrannical? How can we begin to find our own inner voice? And so, yeah, through all different tactics and really understanding, I think the astro map can be useful, not necessary, of course, but it's one way that we can gain more self-knowledge, because I feel the tree of knowledge and this experience of duality, which has been about self-knowledge, understanding who we really are, what we're made of, what our DNA really is, has been targeted with mind control and social engineering. And this amnesia that's been leveraged and taken advantage of through rewriting the past. And I joke, like, did we ever go to a third period galactic history class or learn about our chakras or meditate or like grow food? I mean, it's all very disconnecting. So just to bring that back, to really allow, you know, the thriving and the blossoming of that consciousness born within the child to just have room to breathe and learn differently from others without slapping a label on it. I think, I mean, we have all that we could possibly need amongst ourselves to know exactly what not to do, because we've survived it ourselves. We've been through it and we've come out the other end doing just great. And so, yeah, the Christ Sophia blueprint, you know, the true teachings of the Essenes, recovering from cults from the past, religions, and wherever that might be lighting up in your personal life experience or even in past lives. I think there's so much more like hypnoregression and just, you know, the diving deep, going into that dark night of the soul, facing our grief and sadness and anger without medicating it, without labeling it, without judging it, with and really unpack or stepping away from, oh, there's something wrong with you if you're like that. And that is the ultimate cop-out, because there's something really wrong in the world that we were born into. And that's a really appropriate response to the BS of life, I feel. So what is it trying to tell you? You know, let's get to know ourselves. Let's be creative. Let's write it out. Let's talk it out. Let's hold a lot more space for these elemental energies that are emerging from us. You know, and that will help us to find neutrality and peace. We can't keep shoving it down. We can't just put a Band-Aid on it, and we can't just you know, do the surgery or have, you know, any kind of healing take place without truly understanding where is it coming from. That's how we clear ancestral patterns. That's how we deprogram. That's how we generate a frequency that's the override frequency and begins to de-weaponize the weapons like 5G and all this frequency manipulation that really requires our energy to drop for the AI to even begin to be able to assimilate a soul away from their body into a more mechanical or digressed version of itself, or it just is going to perish. So I think we just have it all within us, and we all have a particular piece to bring together, and we're here to switch each other on to find that wholeness. And that is what unity consciousness is. It's not about let's all think the same way, let's all do it the same way, but where are the diversity of our differences, of our gifts and abilities able to really play together like a beautiful orchestra and complement each other so that we cover all bases. And as we switch each other on, we'll find that we're not, you know, just in one niche or just in one, you know, particular area. It might be our dominant expression, but we'll be able to feel the wholeness of all that we are and enjoy those that might have that particular role more established. And then our body will begin to advance, and we will prepare the way for future generations and for the physical body being able to go through these upgrades, and also find peace with those that might not be able to do that in the physical realm and might move on to have stronger connection with those on the other side, our guides, our ancestors, and those that we love that we might have a hard time letting go of, and to really drop the fear of death. And I could keep going on, but
you know, I loved what you said. We're here to switch each other on. And that's how I kind of feel this panel. When someone was saying, well, why are we doing this panel? Well, we're activating people to start to think about letting go and detoxifying from the past, and what is the new, what do I want to see? So I think that was really, well, so far everyone's been brilliant, just to say, but I think the consensus is like this detox in ourselves, and then how we evolve to help others to come to their truth. So thank you, Laura. Hello, Victoria.
Hello, everybody. How are we integrating? My understanding is the Ascension actually started in 1963. That's when love started returning back to the planet, when the divine feminine started being reawakened. And that's also when the dark side of the contrast went on defense. So the more love and the more light that comes onto our planetary field, the more the appearance of darkness is. So I remember hearing a few years ago people saying, oh my God, it's the darkest it's ever been. And my response has always been, well, it's actually not true. The difference now is there's so much light being shed on the darkness that now we're seeing all the shadows. And all the skeletons that were hidden in closets, the closets have been opened up and we're rolling up the rug of this house that we're remodeling. And, when you remodel a house, you take all the stuff out of the cupboards and you look at it and decide what to keep and what to throw away. And so this kind of goes back to this releasing and letting go of what doesn't serve us. And there's also the rolling up of the carpets to see what's hiding underneath the rugs. So all the stuff that's been hidden over many thousands of years, we're finally taking a look at. And the dark side of the contrast doesn't want us to see that. So it's been in panic and trying to find every possible playing every game in our game book that's worked in the past to try to keep the ascension from growing, to try to keep the masses from waking up. And quite frankly, it's not working. So, and we know that. We've seen the mass number of people who are having their spiritual awakening and who are seeing what's really been happening on the planet. And I have people say to me, well, nothing's happening. Where's the proof that anything's happening? And I always tell people, well, if you look at 10, 15 years ago, you can see how much has changed since then. People just need to actually look and see how all of those shadows are being brought to the surface for us as a collective to process. We're doing our collective shadow work so that we can step into this new reality that is wanting to be birthed through us. And all of us are integrating that in some way, even if they don't know that they are. And so a few years ago, I asked, well, here's one of the visions I was given a few years back in 2019. I had a message come in from Lord Ezekiel with his spaceship, and he was showing me the technologies they were going to be using for basically dissolving these buildings. So it's not that once we make contact, the technologies that are coming in are going to be able to assist us in recreating this earth much, much quicker. But we have to help clean up the mess because we made it. And that begins with doing our own inner work, which is why it's so important. When we talk about 3 to 5D, people just want to bypass the bridge. They want to bypass the actual letting go process that's necessary to get into that fifth dimensional reality, into that fifth dimensional consciousness. You arrive in fifth dimensional consciousness by letting go of everything that isn't that. And that letting go part can be very painful as we let go of everything we've ever believed about pretty much everything. And the more we let go of our attachments to what we think, the way we think things have to be and the way we think things are, and the more we open our mind up to the possibility of entirely new ways of thinking and going about reality, the easier it is for us to drop all of our old BS belief systems, whatever those are, so that we can raise ourselves up, which is what ascension means, is to lift ourselves up into these higher dimensions of consciousness. And the more of us who do that, the more that old reality just starts to melt away, because fear cannot exist in the presence of love and darkness cannot exist in the presence of light. So it is our role, as we've been saying, we are the ones we've been waiting for to actually embody and bring this love to the planet and to bring more light to the planet and to grow it so that the darkness and the fear really can't exist anymore. It will have no choice when enough of us embody that love and that light within ourselves. And yes, some of it is tough love, and that's okay too, because sometimes the patient, kind, and gentle love isn't enough to push things forward. And another one of the visions I was given a few years ago is that on our planet, as we move forward, we will see 3D and 5D actually coexisting in the same space. So in 2012, in December of 2012, 4D and 3D actually converged. So which is why we're seeing 3D and 4D coexisting right now. And that 4D is the place where we do our shadow processing and where we process our lives and where we learn to drop everything that doesn't serve us. So 4D is a vitally important part of this process, because that's where we do the work to leave behind what we can't take with us. So what I was being shown a few years ago is that we will have what I was kind of being shown, like Main Street. You'll have a 3D business and a 5D business right next to each other. And for a while, those two realities will coexist, and we choose through our own consciousness which of those realities we put our energy into, until eventually those old fear-based models just don't exist anymore. So this is how we integrate it. We integrate this new reality, be where we put our focus, where we spend our money, who we associate with, what we do with our time and energy. That's how we integrate this new reality. Not by complaining about what has been and what presently is, but by focusing on the reality that seeks to be made manifest through each of us. And the more of us that hold that truth, the faster we make it happen. So when people are complaining about why is it taking so long, it's because, well, get your butt up off the couch and put down the popcorn and do something about it. Because we're the ones that create it. And the more of us that focus on it, the faster it occurs. It's one of the laws of the universe.
Amazing. I like that. I really like that you're looking at how do we co-create now and step into this new energy, this new world, and let go of what and take responsibility for what we've created. So thank you. All of you, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. You know, I feel that what's most important is, first of all, our personal mastery, that we use this time wisely to strengthen ourselves, to learn to master your special gifts, whether they be Akashic record readings or clearings or DNA enhancement or you know, reading people and their past and future. Each of all of us, and you guys listening to this, have your own skills, your own level of mastery and leadership. And this is the time to really integrate who you are and your gifts, because as Victoria said, you know, these are the times we've been called to be here for. You are and to be one of the chosen ones, you must choose. So you've chosen to come down here, but now the next step is to choose to step into a higher consciousness, to step into a higher dimension, a higher frequency. Start using those foods that you know are healthy for you, the superfoods, the, you know, no processed foods anymore. By the way, you know, taking into account that even our food is being modified, not just genetically modified, but now bugs are in the food, and now all sorts of things that they refuse to tell you are in your food. And what does that mean? You're not supposed to stop eating. You're supposed to then find new ways to feed yourself healthy, organic food that nurtures. And it's the same thing with our medicines. We're beginning to find out that all these medicines actually are harmful, or the chemicals in your home are harmful, the chemicals in your car. Everything, actually, truth is that everything around us is harmful except for the trees, and nature itself, the buildings we live in. And so with this new age will come new technology to, I hear the words, make things real again. Make things real again. First of all, real doesn't need to be made. And so it's a funny phrase that I'm hearing in my consciousness, but tell them, like, make things real, meaning, does this really exist? You know, is this plastic going to be good for me or good for the environment? Should I be going to more natural products? Is this fabric that I'm wearing supporting me? Or is it, you know, they've done research on the vibration of a fabric. Certain fabrics actually drain you. So you put on these polyester clothes, and no wonder you don't feel like you have any get up and go, or when you're breathing in all those chemicals. So I think learning how to wean ourselves away from all that's toxic to us now, or doing the best we can with the chemtrails, you know, using selenite and those stones that can help break it up, and being aware that we need to energetically protect ourselves, even from our environment, even from our food, even from the laundry detergent and starting to make healthier choices by realizing that everything we're doing also has a frequency. And if we want the frequency of light, then we need to gather around us people, places, and things that resonate at the frequency of light as we are training ourselves. And really the choice is coming upon each and every one of us to choose, are we going to step forward with the new planet, with the new Earth, into this new way of being, or are we going to stay stuck in the old? And again, if you stay stuck in the old, it's already been mentioned, we still love you. There's no, we all have different activation and awakening points. Some of us are going to go off to the new Earth and ride our horses into the sunset, and some people may choose to be here. That is all your choice. But if you're going to go with us into the sunset, then make sure you can ride the horse. Make sure that you are mastering your skills, or if you're farming or growing foods, learn how to do it properly. If you want to learn how to do herbs and tinctures that can help you. Like, I moved to Mexico years ago, and everyone's saying, well, they don't have good medical care. Well, they actually do. But I said, I'm going to learn how to go into my kitchen and use all those spices and herbs I have to heal my body. And you can do that too. You can go in your kitchen and you can say, what do I have in here that's healthy, that's going to heal? Because that's part of stepping into this new Earth consciousness. So, words of wisdom from Joan. All right, I'm going to take a deep breath. Everyone take a deep breath for a second. And I think we have time for everyone to just go around and in summary or summarize a little bit about who you are and how you can help people navigate this new world. And, the last thoughts that you want to leave them with. How's that sound, Debbie?
Sounds good. I'm just going to say that I'm excited to regain a connection with our galactic families and our galactic history and galactic civilizations, and integrate that into our current reality, because there's a wealth of beautiful DNA and beautiful aspects and gifts and traits that we've received from our cosmic ancestors, and that's what's going to help us propel forward, is embracing that, not so much dwelling on the past mistakes or the past galactic wars or things that are going on, but that happened, that maybe are still affecting us here on Earth today, but embracing, just the positive aspects of our cosmic ancestry and integrating that moving forward, so that we can truly become part of the greater galactic family.
I love it. Thank you. All right,
Thank
guys,
you.
that's Debbie Solaris. You all have to know her. All right, Susanna Kennedy. Is it me? I can't hear you.
What I help with is, whatever they call doing your inner work, doing your shadow work, healing the inner child, all of those different terms for the same thing, which is letting go of the layers of not you, so that you can be the true lovely being of love and light that you really are, and do what you came here to do. And even though I had that Kundalini awakening, and I connected and brought in my higher self, that old stuff was still in there. I had to find a way to clear it out, and that then became my mission, and that's what I contribute now. But there's a lot of people, they're having a peak experience, and then they think, oh, the job is done, I can be a coach now. And and it's like everyone still has to do that. And I loved what Victoria said about some tough love and somebody complaining that it's not going fast enough. And yeah, just ask them, so what have you done to clear the third dimension out of you, so that we can see this manifest? And so helping people on an individual basis, but also in a group and in a community, And then it continues, because we can continue to upgrade, we can continue to raise our frequency, and we get more and more radiant together, so that we can really shine this love and light on a global level, and really, raise the total mass consciousness frequency. And every time we do that, the transition that we all have to go through gets more graceful. It gets more graceful. And that is what we've been seeing the result of. It's like, yeah, we got to go through the transition, but there's, different levels of grace that we could go through. And so we're raising the level, making it an easier, softer landing, with more people waking up and making that choice to ascend.
Well said. Yes, with more people making that choice to ascend. Absolutely. And that is happening now every day. So even as we're sending this out, we're sending out vibrations to activate all of you listening to this and to start getting all excited about it. So Laura.
Well, I'm so excited about this new Earth Symposium, because it is just all about all of this and the resources and just what we're coming together to do, and just being, an example of what it can look like to just come together and put our minds and hearts and missions in a place where you can get all of it, which is great. So I really appreciate being a part of this. And I always like to say, upgrade in the face of adversity. I mean, we have to let our challenges be a blessing to a certain degree. It doesn't mean it makes it okay. Doesn't mean that a lot of the crimes against humanity and a lot of the manipulations and a lot of the tactics being used on us to keep us in a low vibration or enslaved are anything to smile at. But we have to understand that it's afraid of us. And usually the psychic attack and the weaponry and the psyops increases when there's a huge growth period for humanity and for ourselves personally, that it ends up being a very, very difficult step to take. Some steps are easier than others, but very often there might be a person in your life that all of a sudden turns dark on you, or something that blindsides you and throws you back to what feels like zero. And it can be very discouraging and almost feel defeating. And people sometimes want to give up or give up on their spiritual path. They don't quite realize that once we start to activate at a level that they can't control, and where we are as a collective in moving into a higher dimensional level that they can't control anymore, they're in their death throes. And so every attempt to try and hijack that, we need to breathe through, not take it too personally, and understand that all these challenges are actually lifting us out of duality and the way that we judge it, the way we perceive it. And if we can find more acceptance, more neutrality, more unconditional love and forgiveness to the ones that might have been that conduit for an archonic force or a situation that might not have worked out, and see it on a larger picture level and what's really going on, without also just saying, oh, it's all the weapons, and to not take accountability. It's like saying, oh, that's all the bad food you ate, but don't let it in. We have to really, really establish boundaries and let our spiritual immune system, physical, emotional, and mental, being elemental beings, increase in immunity, increase in strength, increase in the boundaries, and also the expression of truth in the things that are going to override it. And know that everything that's happening to us is actually helping us to advance. That's actually testing us to reach higher. Because in the face of adversity, we have two choices. We can either rescue the inner treasures that have been dormant, or be victimized and be further assimilated into a control mechanism that gives us solutions that are outside of ourselves. So in inspiring one another and doing this in our own lives and sharing the tools and modalities that have worked for us, the contact experiences and, the things that have been super eye-opening, it is really going to help other people feel that permission. And the ones that just turn the other way, that might not be ready for it, they'll manifest some sort of life event to come around. And let's be watchful of our compassion and our concern and our fear for others, not cause us to limit ourselves and start to sync with them. And, in providing resources, I look at it like breadcrumbs or a lot of life preservers, but we got to move on, and we'll always be there. There'll always be some, connect to those that aren't ready. There's always the unconditional love of source energy that will never leave a soul behind. So I just hope that we can feel a lot more uplifted, and, empaths feel not so overwhelmed and so overloaded with everything they're feeling. And and whatever it is we need to address within ourselves, that we support one another and we rehabilitate together, and we realize, you know, the value of all our gifts and abilities, and how, you know, in this unity consciousness, we can pick each other up in places we might feel we need that support, and we can offer something to others that can, you know, provide the same, with all humility. And we're not in the ego personality matrix anymore. We're allowing our ego to be a vehicle for the higher dimensions. And in that, like one of you was saying, in switching on these dormant aspects and recognizing the genetics that are connected to these higher beings and higher races, we're really just coming home to a much larger picture of who our family is on a galactic scale. So there's a lot to look forward to, and embracing the fact that it's all here to be unlocked within, and these adversities can actually help versus hinder. So even looking at the dark weapons, know it has no power over you, it's just afraid of you, and to de-weaponize it with your perception that can reach higher than all the attempts to throw us into a low space of like fear and survival.
Very important to protect our energy, even when we see what's happening in the world around us. And yes, and that's an illusion that you're going into survival, really. It's that fear that takes over. So hopefully we'll be prepared on how to uplift ourselves. Victoria.
No, I love what you were saying, Laura. You know, I have been saying for a while that the darkness always serves the light. So the darkness exists for us to see the light. And we can see, when we look at what's happened historically, the reason there's so much darkness being brought up and being projected toward us is because it is waking us up to our own possibilities. So the darkness always inevitably serves the light, and everything we experience ultimately serves us. So one of the questions we can be asking ourselves if we are going through a dark night of the soul experience is to ask, how does this serve me? And how does this experience serve humanity? And when enough of us look at that, we can start to, instead of being angry and blaming it, we can look at it and ask, how can we juice it for all the lessons it has to offer us, and how does this serve us? And when we ask that question with real genuine curiosity, we get really extraordinary answers. So one of the things I've said before to my students is, you can ask, oh, why is this happening to me? Or you can say, I wonder why this is happening to me. Same question, completely different response that comes from that. So if we can approach what's happening on the planet right now with genuine curiosity about how does this serve us? How is this dark experience actually serving the light, so that more of humanity wakes up, so that we can move this new reality forward? And this is how we learn how, not necessarily to love the darkness, but to shed love onto the darkness. And that's how we all move together collectively. It's doing our own work, asking, how does this serve me individually? And then how does this serve the collective of humanity as we move forward? And Joan, you were asking about how I personally assist humanity with this. I do help people look at their past and present and future stories as adventures of discovery instead of as drudgeries. The shadow work can be very painful, and disbelieving what we've always believed can be incredibly uncomfortable. So I try to help people move through it with as much grace and ease and humor and adventure as possible, as as a heroic story, a story of inner mastery, instead of the heaviness that it can be, because ultimately this is about being lighthearted. How can we bring more light into our heart, and how can we look at everything in our experience through a much more curious and lighthearted way? So that's kind of my approach when I'm working with people, is to learn, one, how to make fun with everything, not necessarily make fun of everything, but it's a fun play on words. And then how can we bring more lightheartedness into it? How can we bring more laughter into it? Because laughter can dissipate the heaviness rather quickly. So for me, it's more about showing people how fun the roller coaster ride can be, rather than how scary it can be. And that's just my personal approach to working with people. And I also have a gift of being able to see people's future. And that's always really fun because I never know what's going to come through. I speak with people's ancestors and their loved ones and their guides and their higher selves. And it's always a fascinating discovery what comes through. So that part of my work is really fun. And I really learned how to have fun with my work and help people through this journey of self-mastery in as lighthearted of a way as possible.
I love that. Thank you. Yes, that was beautiful, Victoria. Everyone's sharings are really beautiful. You know, I guess in my work, what I like to do is I take people up to the top of the mountain. Right below the top of the mountain, we sit in a little cave, beautifully decked out. It's Joan of Angels Cafe. And we have chai tea, and we sit there and we decode our lives, and we look at, as Victoria says, we look at all the challenges. You know, we have to look at the planet altogether too. So we look at our personal challenges and how we played a role in that in our movie. But then we're mixed in with this whole Gaia challenge, because this Earth of ours and the people we have been traumatized for lifetimes, for centuries, maybe for millions of years, you know, and there's been a lot of trauma here. And so clearing away that trauma and looking at it and understanding that the Earth too is evolving, and the peoples are evolving, and some of it, you know, is changing. So as we become more aware of our history, which honestly drives me crazy when I see the inconsistencies in our her story, whatever they've done to the story, they have changed the story in a way to confuse us. So all of us volunteered, come down here, we get down here, and the story changed already. And the rules changed every few years here for us. And we're not really told. So this is a journey of self-discovery, but not just for ourselves. As you discover who you are, you also discover the role you have. A little universe. It's you, and then it's your family, and then it's the community, and then it's your country or state and the world. And to really start to decode that and what that would look like for you, and knowing that each of us is like a symphony. The planet, you know, if you think of Gaia as being an orchestra, and each of us is here to play an instrument. And my instrument will never sound like Laura's or Susanna's or Debbie or Victoria's. It's my instrument. And for us to function on our highest levels and in our new Earth, each of us is going to have to play our instrument, and play it well, and play it in harmony with everyone else, and listen with our inner ear to make sure, you know, that it's all balanced. So what does that mean? We have to do that work to play that song, to bring ourselves and the planet into balance. Because when you hear the orchestra, the Gaia orchestra playing, it's magnificent. And you are a part of that. You came to play, you know, your violin or whatever that is. Your song, your soul work is a part of this great collective. And so, guys, we are all so happy that you joined us today. These are some of the speakers that are going to be on the New Earth Symposium. And as you can tell, we all have a strong belief in mastery, in each of us learning how to train ourselves, or with the help of mentors, how to unfold into what will be exciting times, and hopefully will be our dreams and visions coming true, implemented on this new Earth. So on behalf of everyone, we'll have all the links below, how you can sign up for this event and participate with us. We're really happy that you're going to be joining us. And I don't know, everyone say a goodbye. Let's just, you know, we're going places, guys. We're going to a new world, and it is exciting. And let that hold you steady as the old world decompresses and decomposes for us. What else? Any last words?
Aloha.
Aloha, and we can do it. You can do it. We're doing it collectively.
Yeah.
And so it is. Okay, we'll see you all in the new Earth, guys. Now, we'll see you during the symposium. Let us know your thoughts, and then we're looking forward to being with you next time. And so it is, guys.
So it is. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.